Welcome to Vigorous. I don't even know what this topic falls under. Vigorous face. But like the title said, steroids make you look f***ing old. So let's start it off with that. Now that I'm off cycle and I see a lot of your comments in the comment section, Steve, you look so much younger now that you're doing PCT. Steve, it's looked like you de-aged 5 years. And I've had this comment happen to me several times at the gym as well. People come up to me and say, Steve, why do you look so much different? Well, what do you mean? Is it the hair? Growing my hair back? Is it, the lack of muscularity? And it's always like this. No, you look way different in the face. You look so much younger. You look so much better now. And that leads me on to this video that being on cycle adds a couple years on your actual age just from a facial perspective. So let's discuss why that is actually occurring, starting with anabolics. Starting with anabolics, the foundation of most of the cycles of the guys that are running performance-enhancing drugs. And whether that's from the actual testosterone promoting water retention by itself or converting into estradiol, which of course, as we all know, promotes a little bit of water retention as well by altering the renin and the vasopressin concentrations in your body, reducing sodium and water excretion in the process. So through whatever mechanism the water retention occurs, the end result is that your face is going to be significantly bigger because the water retention literally expands the shape of your skull. Now, it could be a little bit, and of course it's going to be a dose-dependent expansion based on how much testosterone you're taking and how much you're letting that convert into estradiol. But I can tell you firsthand, the more testosterone I took, the bigger my face got. Even if your estradiol levels are within the favorable ranges of, let's say, 35 picograms per milliliter to 55 or maybe 75 picograms per milliliter. And that's usually the threshold where symptoms of gynecomastia start to occur. So I wouldn't recommend most people to let their estrogen go up that high. Blood pressure isn't an issue at that level, but gynecomastia becomes an ever-increasing risk factor. But it's the actual testosterone that promotes a significant amount of water retention by itself, and it becomes clearly noticeable in the face. Whereas everywhere else in the body, you can kind of get away with using a DHT-based compound like masterone or primobolan and help siphon or filter some of that subcutaneous water off. But in the face, when you do go on cycle, you notice the most significant changes regarding water retention, making you look older. And you would expect or hope that the increased water retention would fill in the wrinkles, all these wrinkles right here. You would expect them to be filled in by the water retention. But it's actually not the case. It mostly highlights whatever wrinkles you have, and that doesn't contribute to your overall appearance. Now, unfortunately, that's part of the game, and most of the bodybuilders already know this. They judge themselves from the neck down, and whatever happens from the neck up, that's why it's called bodybuilding and not face building or face maintaining. There's no face in bodybuilding. Whatever happens from the neck down, that's the results we expect, and that's the results we go by when we go on cycle. But I can tell you firsthand that you should definitely pay attention to what happens from the neck up when you start enhanced bodybuilding. Because when you tell people you're 37, but they think you're 40, 45, you might cause an adverse reaction, especially if you're offering a service regarding health. So when you look older than you say you are, you're probably not going to get as much business as you can because people do care about their health. So I'm not going to be that guy that uses other people as an example to show you what anabolic steroids or any other performance-enhancing drugs can do to your face regarding your appearance and adding maybe 5 years or 10 years on your actual age. I'll use myself as an example. You guys be gentle in the comment section, okay? So first example, I'll put that up here on the side. Peak off-season weight, 115 kilos. Right now I'm 99, so I dropped 16 kilos of actual body weight. I think my body fat levels are comparable. Maybe I dropped a little bit of more body fat in the process. So this is me a couple months ago at the peak off-season weight of 115 kilos, eating about 600 to 700 grams of carbohydrates, 225, 250 grams of protein, around 100 grams of fat per day, 110 grams of fat. At the time, I was running 200 milligrams of testosterone plus 200 milligrams of primobolan per week, plus 2 units of growth hormone and 25 units of Lantus long-acting insulin per day. So even though this footage was 6 months ago, now that I'm off most of the performance-enhancing drugs, except 2 units of growth hormone, I came off all testosterone, the primobolan, and I came off the insulin, only using 2 units of growth hormone per day. It helps during PCT. So 6 months ago and 16 kilos less, I think I look 5 years younger. 5 years. So, but the guys that think that, the advanced age that you give yourself by going on anabolic steroids, it's pretty much reversible, but you'll have to come off, or at least have to reduce it to hormone replacement. But let's be fair, 250 milligrams of testosterone and 200 milligrams of primobolan is not a lot of androgens. It's, it's more than hormone replacement, obviously. And would I look the same way if I would be on 100 to 125 milligrams of testosterone per week now? I don't think so. Because even 100 milligrams or 125 milligrams of testosterone per week, plus 2 units of growth hormone, I would still consider that super physiological. Now my testosterone is around 650 nanograms per deciliter during PCT. Let's see where that ends up when I finish PCT. But at 100 milligrams of testosterone per week, I'll probably be 650 nanograms per deciliter, maybe 700 nanograms per deciliter on my total testosterone level as well, but that will be stable. Whereas when you're doing PCT or you're drug-free, that kind of fluctuates. So maybe at one point during the day, it's 500 nanograms, maybe another part, it's 700 nanograms. And when you go for your blood work, it's somewhere in the middle or slightly higher, slightly lower. So in this case, on that single moment in time when I did blood work on a Sunday morning, after finishing a cycle with ACG, I was 650 nanograms per deciliter. And maybe the next day I'm a little bit lower or higher. So even on hormone replacement, when your total testosterone is right in the middle of the range, and you're controlling all the variables, I would still look older. Simply because I'm promoting more water retention and my estrogen and testosterone ratio, my neurosteroids, etc. will be slightly different. So look at me 6 months ago and look at me now. I think I look a lot better now, even though all this muscle is slowly fading away. But hey, that's part of the process. So something I want you guys to know, of course, the insulin puts some water on you, the growth hormone puts some water on you, and the anabolics, obviously, even though the primobolan is siphoning some of that off. But there's something you have to keep into consideration, is that testosterone promotes epidermal growth factor. And I noticed this a long, long time ago. You get more skin cell growth. Your house might end up a little bit dustier than before. If anybody has ever noticed this, that when they go on cycle, that's what I noticed the first time I went on cycle, is that I had to clean way more often. It's like I started producing way more dust because dust, is predominantly dead skin cells that fall off. And here in Thailand, I don't really notice because you're, always a little bit sticky and sweaty and clammy, unfortunately, in this climate, because the high humidity, 75, 80% on a good day. So the dead skin cells kind of stick to your body and then you shower them away. But in Holland, especially during winter, man, your skin would get really, really dry. I'm sure the guys that are going through winter right now, skin is terribly dry and you try to use a little bit of lotion and that kind of stuff just to prevent it from cracking. For the guys that are running Accutane right now, I'm sure they know what I'm talking about. But when I went on a cycle, I think it was the first one or the second one, I just noticed immediately within 4 weeks, I had to clean up all the time. I had to clean all the dust away. So I would clean my house and then a couple of days later would be another small annoying layer of dust. Especially on electronics, probably because of the static electricity drawing all the dust to them. So I would clean, and then 3 days later, there would be another layer of dust. Super annoying. This is something I noticed when I went on cycle during the winter. But I'm sure it comes from the boost in epidermal growth factor, promoting hyperplasia of the skin, increasing skin cell formation, resulting in a little bit more dust than what you're used to off cycle. So this contributes highly to how your face is going to look. And I think, honestly, with the water retention and the increased hyperplasia of the skin in the face, you're just going to get a few years on your actual age. And that's just part of the game. Now, as you go on more anabolics, and especially more androgenic anabolics, hyperplasia of the face muscles start to occur. And I'm sure you've seen that with a lot of the pros out there. I'm not going to name any names. It's pretty obvious. Most of the pros have this going on, is that everything starts to hypertrophy. So you'll see the jaw muscles here at the top of the skull start to hypertrophy to the point they touch their ears. Call it acromegalia, but it's actually the muscles, not the skull, that is expanding. But you'll notice that with potent androgens, even at moderate dosages, is that the muscles of the jaw start to expand. So what I noticed when I took Anavar sublingually, and I think at that time I was taking 20 milligrams per day, 1 hour before workout, after about 4 weeks, I noticed that my tongue and my chin right here, it got more pronounced. And after a while, I started biting my tongue when I was eating, which was a little bit annoying. So I can't say for sure that my tongue actually grew in size, but I did notice a more pronounced effect in the jaw muscles right here. So obviously there's practical applications for that. I'll leave that up to your imagination. I'm sure you can figure it out. But it is noticeable, from a chewing perspective and from a physical appearance perspective. So androgens will grow out your jaw, maybe the tongue muscle down here and on your cranium if you go heavy on them. Keep that in mind. It will definitely make you look older and change the structure of your face going forward. Now, it's completely reversible, as you guys are seeing with me. Myself, everything is looking pretty streamlined. I'm pretty happy with this appearance, to be honest. My wife is certainly happy with how I look right now. Now, another thing that I think contributes to looking older while you're using performance-enhancing drugs is the peptide. So besides the anabolics, just expanding the size and of your face and making the wrinkles more pronounced, I think that growth hormone, insulin, and IGF-1 certainly contribute. Now, growth hormone, because it causes lipolysis, and of course, other compounds cause lipolysis as well. So when you combine growth hormone with clenbuterol, GW1516, etc., they cause lipolysis, and it's beneficial when it happens all over the body, and you get that shredded, appealing look. And it certainly is more pronounced in the face. So what you'll notice with growth hormone, even at a moderate dose of 2 units per day, is that the fat in the face, right around here, around the cheeks, slowly start to disappear. And it doesn't come back unless you really abuse the food and you go into a pretty heavy permabulk off cycle, and you can actually restore the fat in your face. But for most guys, the longer they use growth hormone, the more their face gets drawn out. Now, personally, I like that look. I like that streamlined, no cheeks, no bubbly face. So it looks more masculine, in my opinion. So you see the cheekbones here and the jawline. I think it's a pleasing look. But if you overdo it, and this really starts to draw in, and the skin actually folds over, then you really start to look old. Now, it's an unfortunate part of getting lean in contest prep, especially when you use fat burners. If you don't use fat burners, what you'll see in some of the true drug-free athletes, is that their face still has a significant amount of fat on it, even though they're shredded everywhere else. But for the enhanced guys that use fat burners, their face gets more drawn and drawn and drawn to the point it actually looks like Skeletor. So unfortunately, when you transition back into the off season, that fat doesn't really come back. And now you have this drawn face, even at the higher body fat levels, making you look older. Now, this is the growth hormone that plays a part of it. The IGF-1, of course, increasing nutrient partitioning. And when you're in a caloric deficit, it pulls more fat and fat off your body, including your face. So you don't get to restore that unless you go into a pretty hefty off season. And then, to be fair, the next time you diet down, all that fat on your face is going to be gone again. So you get, from growth hormone, IGF-1, you get a more drawn look on your face. So there's a way to overdo that during contest prep. And if you keep things moderate, 2 units of growth hormone per day, it might actually enhance your look, especially when you come off cycle, because I enjoy this shape, to be honest. I'll be fair, a little bit vain, interjecting a little bit of a veininess in there. I enjoy this look of a clean-cut, chiseled jawline, even though it's not androgenetically incentivized right now. I mean, 650 nanograms total testosterone is not that much. Let's be fair. So keep that all into consideration. All these performance-enhancing drugs are going to change the shape of your face over time. And whether that's making you look older on cycle, 5 years, 10 years. I mean, I've seen guys that look 15 years older. And they're really overdoing the performance-enhancing drugs, obviously. So I think there's a point of no return. When you really overdid it, and when you go off cycle, you still look old. I'm happy for myself that's not the case. But to be completely honest, I do enjoy the compliments that I'm getting right now. Steve, you look so much younger. Steve, you look a lot better. Even though the better part, the muscularity, is kind of slowly fading away. I mean, these biceps, man, it's it looks good on camera, but in real life, it's not the same. You know, I think I need another 2 inches. So this is the struggle that you're always facing. Are you going to let bodybuilding detract from your face? Or are you going to preserve your face and take a step back on bodybuilding? Now, I think you can build a very nice classic physique or a men's physique kind of body without destroying your face in the process, unless you really don't know what you're doing. But for bodybuilding, it's pretty tough. And that's why it's called bodybuilding and not face maintaining. So please keep that into consideration the next time you plan for your cycle. Yes, you're going to gain a significant amount of muscle mass, but you might also take a few years off your appearance. Now, luckily, if you don't overdo it, like in my case, I mean, to be fair, I did overdo it for short periods of time, and then I realized, like, you know, Steve, what the hell are you doing? Stop it. Don't do this to yourself. You run your little experiment, and you go back to something moderate. So in the short periods of time, I don't think I did any permanent damage regarding my facial structure or making me look older. But I do notice that on cycle, I definitely don't look my age. I feel that I look, especially based on those last pictures, I look almost 40, even though I'm 37. And now that I'm off cycle, I look 37, maybe a little bit younger. I hope I do look like a little bit younger. And that's the problem with getting older. When you're like 15, 16, 17, you want that masculinity, right? And when you're going through puberty and your hormones are sky high, it doesn't really translate into getting a masculine looking face yet. Not yet. It takes time. You might get a little bit more hair growth on the face, so you get the shave and all that kind of stuff. It's great. But you definitely don't look like the movie stars just quite yet. That usually happens around 25 when your face gets more masculine and gets a more dominant appearance. Now, that lasts around till 35, depending on how much hormones you take. If you stay drug-free until 35, you should still look pretty good. And then after that, it kind of starts to decline. Just again, going from my personal experience. So now that I'm 37, I'm enjoying a little bit more youthful appearance and focus a little bit more on anti-aging. And I'll leave it at that. Please take everything I said into consideration when you're planning for your next cycle. Don't overdo the androgens. Don't overdo the growth hormone unless this is your life and you're making money off the sport. You'll see that a lot of guys reach a point of no return. They do permanent structural changes from the growth hormone regarding acromegalia, and they make themselves look 5 to 10 years older. And even when they come off cycle and they retire, they look a couple years older than they really are. But in most cases, I feel that the aged appearance that you get on cycle is completely reversible. You'll just have to come off for real and do a PCT. I think I'm proof of that. I mean, when you look at myself 6 months ago compared to now, I feel that I look almost 5 years younger. But I can't wait, honestly, I can't wait to get back on cycle and focus on my bodybuilding 100% and take the face preservation into consideration, just like I take the organ preservation into consideration. I'll leave it there. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video. And don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you very much.